Hello, Internet. Welcome to Say Report Jr. Oh, Halloween came out. I'm very excited to talk about
What?
it. Sorry, like jumping. Oh, you don't watch movies. You didn't know
No,
that
no,
was the theme.
no. I did. I just hit my mic. I did know it was the theme. I just did not expect that when you were like, I have
Uh,
my own little musical intro.
oh
I
man,
did not expect the Halloween theme music
so,
to
you
to
expected
come out
what?
of your mouth.
You
I don't know.
expected?
I thought I expected you to be like Venom, 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 Venom,
Oh, God.
Venom,
Oh,
Venom,
sorry.
Venom.
I didn't get all of the lyrics to the Eminem lyric theme song.
I
So,
mean, it's basically Venom. That's
oh man.
basically the
Um,
lyric.
This is Say Report Jr., a podcast you should be listening to, subscribe to, and downloading every week. I am one of your hosts, Zach Sarowick.
And I'm your other host, Dale Decker.
I had a revelation, by the way,
Oh,
in that
fun.
that is not as grammatically bad as we think it is. It's just the way we say it feels really weird. But as an
Oh,
English
right.
major,
Okay. Yes.
yes, as an English major, if I can point out that the Oxford comma is in our favor on this one,
I don't
saying
understand the Oxford comma. That's
the
just words to me.
it's
Like,
just like when you look at a list of things and you're separating you're separating items on a list.
mm,
So the comma is the thing where you're separating the items on the list. So
yes.
the Oxford comma is meant to separate whatever comes after and from whatever came before and.
Oh.
So like if I
Oh.
were to say like I was going to play Monopoly, checkers, and shoots and ladders.
Yeah.
The and in shoots and ladders would not have a comma in there because that's all one contained thing. But the and before that,
Has
between checkers
has a
and
comma
shoots and
before
ladders,
it.
there's the comma. So that you know that they're two separate things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, checkers and shoots and ladders would be one title, which would be an awesome game now that I'm thinking about that out
It would.
loud. But anyway,
But so the comma comes before and, right? It goes
yes.
checkers, comma, and shoots and ladders.
Right. That's where
Good.
that's the Oxford comma is when you put it before the and in a list of things. And for
I
some
don't.
reason, English majors have been fighting about this for centuries
Well, I
about whether or
remember.
not it's a grammatically correct thing.
Yeah.
But the Oxford comma is beautiful and everyone else is wrong. So
Well, I specifically remember being like, "This is where the comma goes," and like a teacher being like, "No, you're
yeah,
wrong," and I'm
it's
like,
a
"No, but no, I'm
weird
not. I'm a child, but no, I'm not."
yeah, it's a very, very weird grammatical, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't thing.
Yeah.
But here my stance is firmly that it always works and it is always better to have the comma there than not.
All right.
So when I
Fair
say
enough.
we are a podcast you should be listening to, subscribe to, and downloading every week,
It
and
works.
downloading every week is its own separate thought. So we
Exactly.
no longer have to be confused about subscribing every week, which we were doing before.
Perfect. All
There, I
right.
fixed.
Well,
I
now that
That's
we've
your
gotten
English lesson
that,
for the day.
we've gotten that out of the way. We've gotten your little lesson. We should have
So
more teaching moments on the show.
should be slightly educational. Then we can get in on the educational
The
side of
education.
iTunes.
Yeah, exactly. We can
Um,
add that tag.
so how has your week been? It has actually been a week since the last time we recorded together. This is perfect. How has your week been?
Uh, it's been pretty good. It has. It's been very, very fun. Has it been a week?
Yes, we recorded last Monday for us. It just came out on Wednesday for
Oh,
people.
right,
So,
right. Yes.
yeah,
All right. Um, it
I
has
know.
been.
All time blends together for
Yeah, I
us.
know it's crazy. No, it's been good. It's been a good week. I went to a pumpkin carving party with my mom, and I tried to carve Spider-Man. Well, okay. Well, first, I am not the best pumpkin carver. This is what I'm gonna talk about.
Okay.
Is carving pumpkins, and it kind of works if you're gonna talk about Halloween. This isn't even our Halloween episode, but like it's fall, right? Even though it feels like winter.
Oh God, yes.
No, so I'm not a great pumpkin carver. Like following the stencils, I'm okay at, but even that, I end up like ripping the thing or anything. 2 years ago or a few years ago, I did Lumpkin the Pumpkin, which I don't know if you know who Lumpkin the Pumpkin is.
I don't at all know what
Oh,
that means.
oh my God. If and when we do an actual Halloween episode, you will hear. I will just talk the entire half hour, half of the hour about Lumpkin the Pumpkin.
All
because it
right.
is fantastic. Anyways, he's just a very simple face. So I like just carved out a simple face. So I tried. So at this pumpkin carving contest party,
Every party's a contest. Don't worry. I understand.
I mean, kinda. So at this, I tried to do like a really cute picture of a bat and a pumpkin, and it was called like best friends or whatever, and it was really cute. And then like I was maybe a little tipsy, and I like ripped the thing, and it sucked. So then I tried to do Spider-Man, and
Off of the thing you
failed.
already ripped. Wait, hold on. Did you try to turn a mistake into Spider-Man? Is that what
So
you tried to do?
so I hadn't started carving yet. I
Okay.
was at the point where you were. Have you like stenciled a carving before?
No, but that was
onto a
going to be
pumpkin?
that was actually going to be my question was were you working off of a stencil or were you freehanding this whole thing?
So I was working off a stencil for the little bat and the little pumpkin, um, but So when you have a stencil, you like poke holes around the guidelines so you can just
Yes,
cut around
okay.
the guidelines, right? So I started doing that, and I couldn't get the picture flat enough on the pumpkin. So then I wet it to like try and stick it to the pumpkin, and then it ripped because it was wet. Because then I was trying to poke holes through it, and I was like, well,
Ugh.
screw this. So I hadn't started carving. So I saw a picture online of a Spider-Man one. I'm like, that's easy enough. It's just the eyes, and then you like have to carve lines to make the the spider webs.
The webbing face,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
So I carved the eyes, and the eyes looked great. And then I started to carve the lines and cut up the pumpkin. Like instead, I made it like a huge mouth kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I accidentally cut part of the eye out.
Oh gosh.
So there was like an opening. So I had to even it out. So I cut the other opening. So I was like, okay, this is nothing now.
This is the bad Buster Keaton routine at this point. There should be vaudeville music playing behind you.
So I mean,
As you cut into different parts of this pumpkin trying to fix everything.
well, I had to like at least it was symmetrical. It just didn't look like anything. It.
The
I
Rorschach
mean,
pumpkin. It
yeah.
is whatever you think it is when you look at it.
And people exactly. People at the party were like, "Oh, it's like Spider-Man mixed with the Joker," and I'm like, "Please don't be nice because that doesn't even make sense what you just said." And and then I was like, "Oh, it kind of looks like Taskmaster's like symbol." In a way, none of you people here know who Taskmaster is, though. So, yeah. And then I got home, and my dad was like, so is yours the anchor? Because it was like, it kind of looked like an anchor. So I'm like,
It has literally become a Rorschach test
it
of
really
things.
did. It really did. And then my mom, like, posted a picture of it on Facebook, and she then showed me the picture. She's like, look at your pumpkin. And I was like, how did you fix it? Because it looked like a face now. Like she had covered up the holes in the eyes so they were continual. And then I looked over at the pumpkin and there were pieces of tape over over the holes that I created. So it finally looked like an actual thing. It finally looked like a ghoul face. So I was like, oh, okay. That's a good fix. So yeah, so that was fun.
So, on our latest episode of Dale Decker's sitcom, tries to socialize at a party, gets a little drunk, tries to carve a pumpkin.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
the
man.
best was like, I'm cutting it, and I'm like, this is no longer Spider-Man. And everyone around me, like, it's my mom and like her friends from high school and all like work and all that. So they're all like, no, it looks, you can fix it. It's okay. Like, just keep going. And I'm like, if I keep going, I don't know what's gonna happen. And now I do. And now my goal is to do a Litwick pumpkin, which will be far easier. Yeah.
I mean, hey, think of it this way. Commitment is a very important value to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
You stuck with it.
Yeah, I did. I think there are pictures somewhere. I'll have to send. Like, it's probably not as bad as I think it is, but like it is. It's pretty bad. So yeah. So that was fun.
So after you completely ripped a pumpkin apart, how was the rest of your week?
No, it was good. It was a pretty standard week. I went swimming at the gym. That was fun. I miss swimming so much. Like in a pool, in an Olympic. It's not Olympic sized, but I miss swimming in like a indoor pool because I used to do swim lessons as a kid at the Y, and like was the youngest kid to be able to go onto the swim team, and then I didn't go on the swim team.
And you're like, nah, just wanted to tell you I could. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah. No, so I did that, so that was really fun. But yeah, no, it was pretty relaxing. It was pretty
Good.
cool, yeah. Played a little bit of Spider-Man.
That first DLC comes out
Yeah,
soon.
no, it's coming out tomorrow.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I thought it was next week. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So tomorrow.
So look forward to that, everybody.
You're gonna hear this in the future, but it's not coming out in tomorrow. Woohoo! Anyways.
It'll be yesterday for you.
Yeah, it will be yesterday for you. But no, the biggest thing that like I wanted to talk about that so Billy Joel, all right? You know Billy Joel.
I know. Yes, I know Billy Joel.
You know Billy Joel.
I know Sir Billy Joel, right? He's a sir at this point. Has he been knighted? I don't know.
Think he's been
I
knighted.
think you know what? And he can't be. He's American. I'm just thinking if there's someone I know that every time they talk about Billy Joel references him as Sir William Joel, which is of course not a thing. They're just anyway.
That's awesome.
That's one of those things that you know as a joke, but at some point you start going, "Wait, is it a joke? Oh God, I don't know." So anyway.
So yeah, so he has a station on Sirius XM every now and then where it'll like just be Billy Joel songs, which I love because love Billy Joel. He's like one of my favorite artists and all of that, blah blah blah. But today I'm listening to it and they do track by track, so it'll run through an entire album of the artist. Okay. So they were going through 52nd Street, and I like the track by tracks because it goes through and he'll give like little stories about each of the songs, like how Rosalinda's eyes. Do you know that song?
Just keep talking like
All
I
right,
do, because otherwise you'll be explaining every other thing.
No, it's fine. I'm not going to explain a song to you. Me explaining a song to you would be me singing the song. That's pretty much how you explain a song to someone. Anyways, so like Rosalinda's Eyes is actually like for his mom. Like he is singing it for his mom. So he like gives little stories. One of the stories that was really funny is that he was trying to, I don't remember the artist, but he was trying to like mimic a way that a certain artist was sounded. And then he's like, I don't pretend that I don't take stuff from other people. I do. Like I take stuff. That's how songs get written. I am not I'm not a performer. I don't love the way my voice sounds. I am a songwriter. And any one of my songs can sound good in anybody else's voice. That is what I feel. So it's like, oh, okay. That's cool, Billy Joel. Thanks for that.
I mean, if you're going to be honest about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I mean,
he doesn't really try to... It doesn't seem like he tries to hide anything.
Right. I mean, Dylan definitely
XM.
Ripped off Woody Guthrie's voice, so it's not like you can pretend like that doesn't happen with other people either.
Exactly. But it's cool that he's like, yeah, no, this is just what I do. And he always is like, yeah, I don't love the sound of my voice, but you know, I love what I do. So whatever.
There you go.
But the thing that got me today while listening to it is earlier in the day, because I listened to it on the way to work and the way from work. Earlier today, someone requested, I don't remember what song they requested, but they requested something. And they played the live version of the song. So I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. And then it happened again where someone requested "Only the Good Die Young," and she was like, "Yeah, it's been a song that stayed with me ever since I was a 7-year-old girl. Blah blah blah. Like I'm requesting it, and it's for my mother's memory and all that. Blah 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 blah. Right? And like a really nice little heartwarming thing, like dedicating it to her mom, all that. And then they played the live version of it.
That is so weird when it's not
And
specifically requested.
thank you.
It's the weirdest thing to be like, oh yeah, you
Right?
definitely want this other version of the song you love, right?
No, if you request the song, you are requesting to hear the studio version,
Right,
the
like it's one thing to
studio
be like,
edit.
right. If she had been like, "Oh, my mother loved seeing Billy live, and
Yeah,
her favorite, what her, his live albums were his favorite," then you play the live version of that track. But if someone is just like, "I want to hear this song," you don't just pick that one out of the rotation.
it's
What are
like,
you talking about?
we haven't had a live version yet. Why not? No, no, that's not what I asked for. Like, if I was that woman, I'm driving home, and I hear my little blip, I'm like, oh, fantastic, I'm going to get to hear the song I requested. And then it's live. It's like, well, I'm changing the channel now. No, but seriously, because live versions of songs are fun. They can be fun. Some bands do them better than others. Some artists do them better than others. I tend to like Billy Joel's live recordings just because he's so crazy and he changes it up so, like, he's very much um, a jazz performer in that way where he will just, like, change his songs up while he's playing. So it's cool to hear it that way. But at the same time, live recordings are only fun when you're there at the show. Because
Or
you,
like if you
like, you
like,
hear the... Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like, or just like if you listen to them like as a piece, like if you listen to the live
The
album,
show, yeah.
hearing the track like separate from out of context of the rest of that album is so weird because like it never is cut right
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning and the end. Like there's like you said, they're changing up the composition half the time because they're
Yeah.
trying to put on a show for the audience that's there. You don't want to just give them everything they've always had, so you do all these different things, and like that's fun in the context of I'm going to sit down for an hour and a half and listen to this whole concert. Not so much, oh, I've got 2 minutes. Let me hear the live version of that song,
Yeah,
completely
exactly.
out of place.
And I don't know if I've, like, I don't know. It seems so weird, especially, like, following up this whole, like, really nice thing this lady said. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna throw up a upbeat, like, really intense version of "Only the Good Die Young," and you're basically just gonna hear the crowd screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, no, no, that's not what I wanted.
How much do you
Thanks
love this Billy Joel
anyways.
song? How much do you like it when 8,000 people at once are singing it
Exactly.
not into a microphone?
And then there's a part in it, right? So I'm listening to it and I'm laughing because I'm enjoying it. Because A, I love that song, and B, it's kind of a cool version of it. But there's a part in it where he just sounds tone deaf. Like he does
Oh
not
yeah.
sound good because he sings it. It's almost like he purposefully is singing it bad.
Well, he's singing to
Like,
the acoustics of the
yeah,
amphitheater, which is
yeah.
not going to sound good into the microphone that's right in front of him.
And it was almost like he was
Yeah.
speaking the lines. It was like, your mama only told you that all I could give you was a reputation. Like, I just turned it into country. But so like he was basically like speaking the lyrics. So it was like through like labored breath. Like you could barely, very
Almost
flat.
like
Like,
playing for that long at the one time
yes.
is a tiring thing for performers.
Exactly.
Uh,
So it was just like sounded so weird. And I'm like, yep, that's what I wanted out of my request. A tired Billy Joel speaking his song. There we
oh
go.
man. I mean,
That
if I
made
wanted
my
that, I'd
day.
just listen to "We Didn't Start the Fire" again. But oh,
Exactly. But I don't know. But like to go back to the whole, it's better to listen to the whole album. Like Bowling for Soup they have an album where they play acoustic in a in an I think an English church. So, and it sounds cool, and some of their songs sound better in that in those recordings, but it's also cool because you don't they do little breaks in between where they will
Right.
talk about the audience, or they call them drink breaks, and they keep all that in, so it does feel like you're at the performance in a way. Whereas like Billy Joel, he doesn't really talk during his songs. He doesn't
Right.
have breaks, except for at the end where they keep the ending or the beginning where he'll like give a little speech. But at the end of Only the Good Die Young, he's like, "Yeah, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes." It's like, what just happened? Like, okay,
Just like crowd
Cool.
cheering, crowd cheering, crowd cheering, cut off.
Yeah.
End of track.
exactly. It was just so weird, and I just found it so funny, and I felt bad for this random woman who like just wanted to hear the studio version of Only the Good Die Young and got a live track instead. So yeah. So that's my little blip for the week. How was your week?
My week was good. My week was weirdly packed with things. One of which we're gonna get to the end here. I think we're gonna converge our blips at the end. But before I get there, yeah, I don't know what that was supposed to mean. You're not seeing the hand motion I'm making for that
I
either.
can only imagine. Like it's your hands just like meshing together.
I mean, it's exactly what it is. There
Yeah.
you go. You got it. Yeah, so it's been a very packed, very fun week. It did start on a, bittersweet note, which was the announcement that Carol Spinney, the puppeteer and voice actor for Big Bird, is retiring after 50 years.
Yep.
I think he's the longest running actor on Sesame Street. He has been on since the very first episode of 1969. And I finally saw how Big Bird works, and I don't know how a guy has done that for 50 years. So when this was announced, a bunch of people started telling their Carol Spinney stories, which is great. It's beautiful because none of them were bad. Like it wasn't like,
that's good.
oh, he's retiring and now suddenly people are coming out of the woodwork to say he's a terrible person.
Yeah.
Instead, they're saying things like he got in a pleasant professional disagreement with Mr. Rogers because Mr. Rogers wanted him to come on the show as Carol Spinney and talk about Big Bird and Sesame Street and how that works. And Carol Spinney went, I'm not going to do that. Why would I ruin that for kids?
Yeah.
I'm not going to come out there and tell them how Big Bird works.
Wow.
And he committed to that to the point where for Jim Henson's memorial, he showed up in costume
As Big Bird.
as Big Bird
Wow.
and sang It Ain't Easy Being Green with the chorus as a memorial to Jim Henson. And I dare you to find that video online and not cry, because I'm already choking up just thinking about watching it.
Wow.
Because you don't think about the fact that, like, he's singing Kermit's song, like, that seems silly in a way. And then you think, well, Jim Henson was the one that sang it because he was Kermit. So to have Carol, like, have Big Bird come out there and sing this song for him was, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But I am going to ruin how Big Bird works because I think it's phenomenal very quickly. He's basically just a giant hand puppet. I think that's the thing that blew my mind the most. Carol Spinney would get strapped in this giant 8-foot bird costume, stick his hand in the air to run the beak and the eyes with his right hand, and his left hand controlled the left arm of Big Bird, and that's it. That's all it is to run Big Bird.
Wow.
I watched Follow That Bird after this because I was like, I haven't seen that in a very long time, and I started to realize I couldn't stop looking at the fact that Big Bird's right arm never moves. I don't think it's ever moved in 50 years.
Now
because
that you mention it, I never realized that until right now.
Because it's his right arm is controlling the face, so it's just his left arm and his face that are moving the whole time. And I was like, oh my God, I've never noticed that before.
That's crazy. That's so cool.
The other thing that blew my mind with Follow That Bird, have you ever seen the Muppet movie?
No.
So there is a scene in the Muppet movie which came out in 1979. I'm going to go right past that because if I don't, it's going to be a whole other conversation. Oh, it's such a beautiful.
We can have it on another time.
It's such a beautiful movie. But anyway, there is a scene in the Muppet movie where Kermit and Fozzie are driving. It might be during Moving Right Along.
Is this Moving Right Along? Because I know Moving Right Along.
Okay. So there's a point in Moving Right Along where as they're going, they run into Big Bird on the street in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
And Big Bird says, "Hey, do you know how to get back to Sesame Street?" No, we don't. Okay, and they move on, and
Yep.
that's it. And if you put a gun to my head 3 days ago and told me when Follow That Bird in the Muppet movie came out, I would have said, "Oh, they probably came out like within a year of each other because Big Bird has a cameo and the Muppet movie, and it's clearly a Follow That Bird reference." Follow That Bird came out 6 years later
Oh
in
wow.
1985. So either it just took them that long to put the movie together and kind of figure out the story they wanted to tell, or someone looked at that one cameo in the Muppet movie and went, "Wouldn't it be funny if that was like a whole movie for Big Bird?" And then they made it 6 years later. But I would have sworn that those movies came out like within a year of each other.
That's crazy.
And then I was like looking at their release dates and I was like, how the hell is that not like a reference? What are you talking about? How did Follow That Bird not come out first for that joke to work? That means that in 1979, Big Bird just shows up in the Muppet movie for 2 minutes. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
uh,
Okay, so full disclosure, I have not seen either movie. Um, because I just haven't.
they're much older. I mean, the Muppet movie, fantastic. It's a classic. Everybody should see it. Follow That Bird, also very good, but nowhere near as good as the Muppet movie.
Yeah.
It just isn't. Um,
Yeah,
but
no,
Follow
I
That Bird
just
is Yeah, Follow That Bird is this weird, like, it's a mad, 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 mad world, rat race-esque movie where a social worker,
yeah.
who's also a giant bird, decides that Big Bird can't possibly be happy living on Sesame Street without other birds. And so she swoops in and just takes him away. It's like, "You're going to go live with these other big birds now, who are
What?
dodos."
Wait,
And then
what?
there's like, yeah. And then they're like, "Yeah, no, there's no way in hell you're happy here. So we're going to take you and stick you right here in this other house." And then everybody's like, "Well, we got to go get Big Bird now because holy crap, they just took him away. We got to go get him." It's a very weird concept
That
for a
is
kids
awful.
movie to
That,
be like social workers are mean and will take you away from your home. Like that, they might as well have just said that. Um, to be fair, the
wow.
social worker learns her lesson, quote unquote, by the end of the movie by being like, "Oh no, I guess you are happy here. Clearly, I've done my job well," and walks away like
Like
there's
nothing happened.
like
Like
nothing
the
happened.
rest of the hour and a half did not
Yes,
happen.
like the fact that Big Bird wasn't kidnapped and stuck in a cage and
Wow.
painted blue didn't happen.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Jeez.
Oh, it's such a
Why?
weird movie for a kids movie. Oh
Why?
man.
That's insane.
So after you follow that bird, I started thinking, and I was, talking with some people on Twitter about Carol Spinney and stuff, and someone mentioned what might be the craziest Sesame Street special ever, which is called "Don't Eat the
Need the
Pictures."
pictures.
The Metro Sesame Street goes to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. This is a special that I thought didn't exist. Like for years, I remembered it, and so many people told me I was crazy that I started to think I had made it up in my head. But this is a special in which Big Bird gets locked in the Metropolitan Museum of Art overnight and helps a thousands-year-old dead Egyptian little priest dude solve a riddle and then get his heart weighed against a feather so he can go to heaven as is Egyptian custom.
What?
Yes. Yeah. So
What?
he's at the museum and then he's like, "Oh, I've got to go find Snuffleupagus, who they all still think is an imaginary friend at this point." And so he goes running
That
off. Museum is closing. That's a
wait,
whole other story.
hold
We're going to
on.
talk about
We
that. We're
need
going
to
to talk
talk
about that.
about that
Okay, we'll talk about it
because
now. So here's the thing. Snuffleupagus, you know who that is, right? Big
yes, I know
famous.
that
Okay.
Snuffleupagus originally was going to be his imaginary friend, and then they were like, Snuffleupagus is real now. And that's like all I have to say about that.
Do you know why that is though? There's actually a very specific reason why that is.
No.
It is no. Okay. So probably actually not long after Follow That Bird came out, there's you had the oh God, Spotlight, the Catholic priests. There it is. I swear this is all connected. So you had
Spotlight, the Catholic
yes,
priest.
I had to remember what Spotlight was about because I was trying to remember how to say. So you had the Catholic priest accusations coming out in the late '80s, as well as all the satanic panic stuff about kids, whether or not kids were being believed when they were talking about being abused and all this other stuff. So Sesame Street made a very specific choice. So Snuffleupagus had always largely been real, according to Big Bird. Um,
Yes.
so Big Bird had always been treated as a big goofy gawky 6 year old. And then Snuffleupagus would only ever show up when other people weren't around. And so even though he insisted he was real, no one ever really believed him because he would like walk out of the room as they came in and stuff like that. So then you have all of this stuff about the accusations going around, and Jim Henson and Sesame Street, they started to get they wanted to be very strict on the idea that kids should be believed when they are talking about things because, they wanted to make sure adults would listen to kids and kids would feel comfortable talking to adults about stuff.
Yeah.
So they had a like very specific moment on the show where he introduced Snuffleupagus to everybody, proving once and for all that he was in fact real.
Perfect.
So that
Okay.
kids would feel comfortable telling parents like, no, this is a real thing. This is real, like that kind of thing. So
Got
yeah,
you. All right.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
I
so
never
Snuffy,
knew that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
actually, I actually never knew that Snuffleupagus was ever thought to be imaginary
yeah. Like the
until I
adults
read
don't believe
somewhere.
he exists for a while. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah,
I read somewhere that, or I heard somewhere that Snuffleupagus started out as an imaginary friend and then became real, and I was like, what?
yeah.
Snuffleupagus was never real? Yeah. So,
Yeah. So
that's
so in
cool
don't
though. That's interesting.
sorry, excuse me. Oh my God, my throat. Just clearing everything. So in Don't Eat the Pictures, he runs off to find Snuffy in the museum, and museum locks up overnight. Which I love, by the way, that he runs back in the museum, and everyone else from Sesame Street decides, well, I guess we're staying here overnight to find him in this building where we will spend all night still not finding him. And no one finds this weird. There's like one security
No.
guard doing like double takes through the whole thing, but no one ever actually stops this like group of 20 people from chilling out in the museum overnight. And he
You
comes
can
across this.
rent out museums and stay overnight.
I
Maybe it
get,
was
I,
just that.
sure, why not? So he comes across this little boy crying in the corner, dressed like a little Egyptian priest. Kid can't be more than 10 years old. It's like, oh, what's wrong with you? He's like, well, I've been trapped here for 1,000 years because there's a riddle I have to solve. And if I solve the riddle, then the god of death will, weigh my heart against a feather, which will allow me to ascend into heaven and become a
Yeah.
star where my parents are. And you're just like, that's just it. That's accepted. There's no conversation about that. Big Bird goes, well, I guess we'll have to help you solve that riddle then, and then that's the rest of the episode.
Wow.
And of course, everyone else is going through the museum all night, and there's little double takes. The best through line on the other side of that is where the thing gets its name, which is that Cookie Monster is trying to eat every picture of food he comes across in the museum, and they have to explain to him that you can't do that. There's, in fact, an entire part where they actually do a song. There aren't songs throughout the whole thing, but there is a song which it consists of 3 angels of Cookie Monster trying to convince him, no, you don't eat the pictures because those aren't
Oh
actually food.
my
So,
god. I mean, so the weird thing about that is like,
oh, sorry. What's the weird thing about all of that? Please tell me. Let me tell
actually,
you. I hear this story. Let me tell you what strikes me as a little odd. Hold on.
give me a second. No, so like hearing you, yeah, I completely dropped the ball and I did not watch this and I meant to and I just never got to. But hearing you explain it to me and like having a perception of the world that I have now, yeah, is crazy. As a kid, let me tell you something. I would have loved it.
I mean, I did. I
Because
remembered it for years, even though people were telling me it didn't happen.
yeah,
So, like,
no, it's like Snuffleupagus.
yeah.
Oh my god. Cause like as a kid, I wouldn't say kid, but like middle school, high school, I don't know. I was super into ancient Egypt and like learning about the burial process and the afterlife and all of that. Like very, very into Egyptian stuff. So the fact that Big Bird found an Egyptian priest, like young Egyptian priest, and had to help him cross into the afterworld, like that would have been awesome to me. Like it would, yeah. Especially because there was an animated show called, never mind. No, I don't remember what it's called. I think it was called King.
Let's move on.
I think it was called. Oh, it's called Tuttenstein, and it was about
Oh my god, I
young,
remember Tutenstein.
right? So yeah, I love that show. So yeah, it just feels like the combination would have been great. Plus Cookie Monster.
Plus Cookie Monster.
But like, yeah, that's a weird special for kids. Like,
like 1983. It's like, oh, by the way, let's talk about Egyptian death process.
Yeah, exactly. That's man. TV was so different.
Oh man, I miss it. I miss the 80s. I wasn't there for it, but I miss it anyway.
I wasn't there for it. Yeah, that's. I mean, seriously though, TV was so different and so much better.
Speaking of 70s and 80s nostalgia, that rolls me right into the other big thing I did this week, which was if you didn't get it from the opening music, I got to go see the new Halloween, which was excellent. I did. So I saw.
That was very facetious.
That was convincing. Yep, I did my.
Nothing. Continue.
Okay.
I just pinched my finger. Let's continue.
So I did the trek out to El Paso. This time they didn't trap me. I managed to find the exit and get out before an hour had passed.
That's good.
But
I'm happy.
They're gonna try every time. They're just gonna keep changing roads on me to see what happens. But yeah, I got to see the new Halloween, and I got to see it like on opening night, basically, which I don't get to do very often. Got to see a sequel to a movie that's older than me, which is I'm just now realizing I did that, and it's a little mind blowing.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, because I mean we talked about this before, but this movie completely erases the other like 8 movies that came before it, and is just a direct sequel to the original Halloween. I say direct, I mean it's still 40 years later, but it is a sequel to the original Halloween.
Take into effect any of the other movies, so it is direct.
Right.
Yeah, there's just a time jump.
And written by Danny McBride, which keeps blowing my mind because it was like, yeah, he's the one that was like, I want to come in here and write this story, and then I forget what the director did. The director did something else. Good, which I will forget now, and I am terrible for not looking that up. But yeah, so John Carpenter still came back and like did music for it and stuff. Like he was super involved, and obviously Jamie Lee Curtis comes back and is brilliant.
That is
brilliant
super
through the whole movie.
Super cool to me.
As well as Judy Greer. I love that this is a movie where Judy Greer plays her daughter, and finally is like, this is a movie where Judy Greer is not relegated to being just like quirky sidekick or anything. Like she has like a purpose in this movie, and is very good. And I just like, well, I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody out there that wants to see it, but I wholly recommend it. I got to see it in an Alamo Drafthouse, which means I didn't have to deal with annoying people, so I don't have any funny stories to go along with the fact that I went to go see it in a theater that never have to deal with that.
It was playing in the right theater. You were able to go. No kids were there, right?
Nope.
No kids trying to go see The Incredibles. None of that, right?
Like
trying to go
6
see
people
Goosebumps.
showed up.
Kids trying to go see Goosebumps.
No, just as the movie, like the trailers ended in Alamo. So the way that Alamo Drafthouse works, for anybody out there who has never been to one, they have very strict rules about phones and texting and talking. Like they have a whole system where you can basically get people kicked out very easily if they're being disruptive.
Cool.
But they don't play that message, and they do this on purpose. They don't play that message until the trailers are done. Mm-hmm. So you basically have until the end of the trailers to show up, because after that they shut the theater and you're not allowed in, which is great. But
That's
like 6 people showed up just as the last trailer was ending and sat right next to me, and I immediately was filled with dread, but they were fine. I was just like, oh dear God, no.
Yeah,
I was like, I had to drive 3 hours to get here, and I was here early. You're not allowed.
Get out of here. Yeah. I've never been to Alamo Drafthouse, so I've heard, but like that's really cool.
Yeah,
that is how all theaters should be.
Yes, it is also assigned seating, which is nice because then you don't have to worry if you're
those people
from another movie.
Those people are extra jerks because they saw you sitting there. Probably, right? I
mean, they saw the entire theater sitting there. They were like, I'm not kidding when I say they were like the last people to show up before this full movie started. So I just happened to be that they were next to me.
It was a full house.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like the only one in there, and then 6 people came in.
No, no,
I
no. It was just that
completely
there was
misread
just
that.
6 empty seats next to me, and I went,
Got
"Oh,
you.
that's weird. I thought this movie would be sold out." And sure enough,
Yeah.
they just come traipsing in.
I did think it was a little weird that you were the only one in a
Oh, oh God,
Halloween 2 freaking premiere.
please, please, Halloween 2018. They made the very dumb mistake of calling this movie also just Halloween. So,
Yeah, I
in
didn't.
this weird continuity of this franchise now, there is a timeline in which the two movies in it are Halloween and Halloween. So,
It's not. There's like no subtitle. There's
nope,
nothing. It's
nope.
just
It is just
Halloween.
Halloween and then Halloween.
Wow. Wow.
My favorite is so Halloween H2O, which came out 20 years ago, was supposed to be a big thing because it was 20 years later, and that's the
Yeah.
actual subtitle to it. Is Halloween H2O 20 years later? That is the whole title to that movie, and so people just jokingly have been calling this one Halloween H40, which is
Nice.
hilarious. But that's like the only way to really distinguish them
Oh
because
my god. That's so
uh,
funny. That's so funny.
but yeah, the characters are good, the acting was good, the story, the you get both it's as much a family kind of drama like trauma story as it
Mhm.
is just a slasher flick, which is great. Judy Greer, and then I didn't catch the name of the actress that plays her granddaughter, but she's also fantastic through the whole thing. She's also running around in just like suspenders and a suit for like most of the movie because of the costume she was wearing on Halloween, which
Nice.
is like I like that idea of a slasher flick where like your final girls, none of them are dressed in anything like sort of skimpy or revealing. You've got one in a suit and then Judy Greer in a Christmas sweater, and for some silly reason, and then just Jamie Lee Curtis, just you know, just as Jamie Lee Curtis. She's not dressed like anything, but
Yeah.
she's 60 something now. She's not dressed in any skimpy outfits.
Yeah.
And so like I like that whole thing. It kind of does the like Star Wars Force Awakens thing where it takes a lot of like scenes and kind of retreads some stuff from the original, but
Okay.
then subverts it in very nice ways. Like it's clearly doing it on purpose, and it's not a lot, and it's subtle enough that it's not obnoxious. I I was very happy with my viewing of that.
Good. I'm glad.
So
It for like seriously, you talking about your Halloween like seeing going to see Halloween reminded me that I saw Goosebumps too, Haunted Halloween.
how is
Um
that? I haven't seen the first one, so
oh
I
my
don't even know.
god. It's so good. So
Jack
yeah.
Black made that very weird turn to kids movies a lot earlier than most actors do, and
Yeah.
and it's been working for him. Like he was just like, you know what? I think I work better with kids, and just ran with it. So
I mean, he does have that he has that comedy where it works for kids in a lot of ways. Like yeah, he has his Tenacious D stuff, but like I mean, School of Rock. Like
right, I
he's
think at School
so
of Rock he
funny.
figured
Yeah,
out that like, oh, I work really well
well
with
with
kids,
kids.
and
Yeah,
I don't have
exactly.
to. Yeah,
I don't have to be raunchy, and I can be if I want to be, but I don't have to be. And working with kids is a lot more fun because they find a lot of the stuff funny.
yeah.
you know, like, but yeah, no, it's really fun. Yeah, Devin, myself, and our mom went and saw it because we all saw the first one together, and oh, it's so much fun. I never read the Goosebumps books as a kid, but you still understand what's going on because they
I
explain it to you.
I
Um,
have. So for some reason, I must have been when the Goosebumps show was out, but
yeah.
we went to Disney World for my 10th birthday,
Mhm.
and they had like a whole Goosebumps setup in one of
Oh,
their
really? Oh,
areas.
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. They must have been the ones that had the like they must have been the ones airing the show. I honestly don't remember because we bought everything on VHS and just rewatched them 1,000 times. So
Yeah.
I have no idea what channel was running Goosebumps anymore. But I have a picture. I'm staring at it right now of me and Sejin green screened into the cover of Night of the Living Dummy 3,
Nice.
which I remember the weirdest setup because I'm not like literally green screened. They had us take a photo in front of a giant green screen and just like pretend you're scared. And we were like, we don't know what that means. We're just going to smile with our mouths open.
That's fantastic.
uh,
You gotta look like, oh like running
They're like,
away or
no,
something.
look more scared. And we're like, we're too busy laughing at the fact that we're standing in front of nothing
And
and making goofy faces.
that's
So
fantastic. That's so good. Oh God, I need to see that picture now.
I will make sure it goes up. I will embarrass the hell out of Sejan with it.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm so excited. No, yeah, but so the funny thing about the Goosebumps movies is when we saw the first one, our mom, she goes up and she goes, "I'll have a ticket for Jumanji," because it basically is Jumanji,
Because I mean, it's basically
but
Jack
with
Black in a kid's movie.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's basically Jumanji, like the original Jumanji, because everything from the book is coming to life and all
Okay.
of that,
Yep.
right? And then Jumanji comes out, and we see Jumanji. I don't think she made the joke. I might have to look at Devin
Oh,
because
she
he is
didn't
down
stick
here.
the landing. She
Devin,
didn't.
did she make the joke? Did she order a Goosebumps ticket when we saw Jumanji? She did. So she did. So sorry, everybody. I had to confer with my brother, who is
Now we have to give him a special guest credit.
special guest star. So yeah. So when we saw Jumanji, she said, "I'll have a ticket for Goosebumps," and she got the ticket and all that, and then we saw it. So
Did any of the people selling her these tickets appreciate the joke, or was
I
that the eighth
think
time that
so.
day they had heard it?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure she's the only one who's made the joke, though. Like, I don't know if they knew. I think
They
they
knew what she was
knew what
talking
she was talking about. So anyways, or if they didn't, she was just like, no, I mean the other one. So when we saw Goosebumps 2, she didn't make the joke, but in Goosebumps 2, you saw the new Jumanji, right? The with
No, but
The
I know enough
Rock?
about it.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
So, spoilers for Jumanji. It's not really a spoiler because you see the trailer. The girl who plays Bethany, her character is Bethany, right? In the game of Jumanji, Jack Black plays
Right.
her, is her avatar. And in Goosebumps 2, she is like the older sister of the family who is like finding the book and everything. And she is a writer, and she's trying to go to Columbia, I believe, and all that. And like spoilers for Goosebumps 2. I hope you care. No.
No.
Okay, good. So at the end of the movie, R.L. Stine shows up, who's Jack Black, and they have like a really nice moment, like writer to writer, and it's like, oh, even more connection to Jumanji.
Just a weird universe,
Like,
Jack Black universe
was
they're creating.
crazy. It was awesome. It was like yeah, it was great. It was but yeah, so that was my little derailment
Oh, that's okay.
because
That's good.
you talking about Halloween made me think of Goosebumps because that's
So-
the level of scary movie I can handle.
Then there's the goofy, somewhat probably they were trying for scary, but just came off silly. Of the movie we both saw the last couple
You
of
think
weeks.
they were trying to be scary with that?
I think the comics have tried and failed, and I think the movie realized that you can't make him
can't.
scary. He's
No.
just funny. And that is Venom. We saw Venom. We're
Venom,
talking
Venom,
about
Venom. Sorry.
Here's your stinger. That's the most popular thing Eminem's gonna do in a while.
It's the most popular thing Eminem will do. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
So I saw Venom right before Halloween, and so before we get into the movie itself, I left work. I drove the 2.5, 3 hours to El Paso, and I got there just before Venom is starting. So I was like, okay, Venom starts at 7, Halloween starts at 9:40. I think this will work. There's no reason, but I Google it anyway because I'm like, I should just make sure how long Venom is before I get trapped in some sort of terrible situation. And Google lied to me.
Oh no.
Because if you Google the runtime of Venom,
No.
it tells you, don't worry, it was a good lie. I mean, it was a lie that worked in my favor.
Good. Okay, good.
I'm going to give you a heart attack. In that it tells you that Venom is 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
Okay.
Venom is an hour and 50 minutes long. They have tacked on an extra half hour to that movie
Wow.
for some
Yeah,
reason.
because
I don't know if that was
I was just gonna say Venom feels really quick. Like
right.
that movie's quick.
I actually had the same thought as I was going through the movie, and I was like, this is going along at a pretty good pace. I'm surprised.
This is
And then I realized,
2 hours.
and I don't know if I don't know if like Google tries to average out and tack on like commercials and trailer stuff before
Trailers.
that, but even then, 30 minutes is a lot. Like 15 minutes of
Yeah.
trailers is usually the extent. So I was like, I don't know if maybe they had some sort of insider knowledge of the original R-rated version, and that was 2.5 hours long or
Mm.
something. But it was just weird because I was like, okay, I thought I was gonna have like literally 10 minutes to get from one theater to the other,
Yeah.
and instead I had like a half
Which is
hour.
doable.
Right. I mean, it's perfectly doable. I already had the ticket for Halloween bought, so I didn't
Yeah,
have to worry about
exactly.
that. I was just like, it was just like it's like when you get to an airport and like you've got like a connecting
Yeah.
flight. The connecting flight, they're like, oh yeah, no, you've got like 40 minutes to get from one flight to the other. You should be fine. And
You're
then
at
never
5.
factor, right? They never factor in the fact that 20 of those minutes you're still going to be stuck on your first plane. And then 10 of those other minutes you're going to be running across the airport. And
Exactly.
then by the time you get there, they've already called like your boarding party and you're already 5 minutes late for that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
so,
that's
but
true.
it ended up working in my favor. It was just very weird because I was like, I don't remember anyone talking about Venom being that long. That seems
Yeah,
strange.
that's weird. That's weird. Okay, so you say so I am out of it. Because you said that there was an originally R-rated version of this.
Yes,
I did not know that.
when Venom was first announced, it was I get maybe part of it was just assumed, but especially with it, the very big feeling that like Deadpool was a very big reason why
Yeah.
Venom got picked, especially because right now Spider-Man is not a Sony product, and so they're trying to bank off of Spider-Man without being allowed to use Spider-Man,
Yes.
which is why Venom takes place in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is
uh,
great.
which is great. No, it's great that they did that. It's just like at some point, I think that the deal that Sony has made with Marvel will end, and they will be able to make Spider-Man movies again. And when that
Well,
day happens, this will all upend.
isn't
But yeah,
Edge's or Spider-Verse Sony as well?
yes, yes. So
So,
the way that the way that Sony's deal with Marvel works right now is that they are basically sharing the rights to Spider-Man,
yeah.
but there's only specific. Like they're not allowed to just make a Spider-Man movie. The
Yeah.
reason that they're allowed to do Spider-Verse is because they are basically
It,
working around the idea with the multiverse thing.
exactly.
So they're not necessarily using like there's probably some lawyer out there that's like, no, it's not the same Peter Parker. Technically,
Loophole.
we're not a violating. Yeah, right. It's all loopholes. So they're also going to be able to use the Spider-Verse to be like, well, if we can't do a Peter Parker story, we can do Miles Morales stories, and we can do
Exactly.
Gwen Stacy stories, and we
Yeah.
can do this and that. Um,
And it'll be better.
yeah. So initially the belief was that a Venom movie would be very bloody and violent and
Yeah.
R-rated, basically. And then at some point they knocked it down to PG-13, and who knows why they added this or that. But yeah, it was originally believed to be R-rated, and so I have a strong feeling that maybe that's what that 2 hour and 20 minute one was. I just don't know what half hour of movie they cut out of that,
Yeah, I
if that's the
know.
case.
That maybe more like I shouldn't have
Like,
to say this, but the spoiler friends are coming. Okay.
yes.
All right. But maybe there was like more riot stuff.
Maybe, or
That's
maybe
like
just more like when he's like more blood as he's fighting people,
fighting.
and so like those fights might have gone longer. Who knows?
Yeah.
It also could just be that Google is just wrong, which
Yeah,
I know
true.
we don't know how to believe that in this world, but
Google
just be
can't be
Google.
wrong. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Google and I share a birthday.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I got really okay. This is a derailment of all derailments, but there was one year where I had to go to Google for something, and the Google Doodle was like a birthday cake, and I was like, "How did Google know it was my birthday?" And then my mom said, "Oh, I wrote them and
Oh,
told them it was your birthday, so they made you a Google Doodle."
that's
And
either
I
very
was
good or very bad parenting. I
and
haven't decided yet.
I was like, wait, really? And then she was like, no, it's Google is also has your birthday. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so happy that the biggest search engine in the world has my birthday. Anyways, back to Venom.
So yeah, so I did get so got to see Venom, which is exciting, and I didn't have to stress about time or anything, which meant I was able to just sit there and enjoy it. That is a very it is both well paced and also weirdly paced just because of that last like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Because it's almost like a weird, like they almost weirdly decided, oh, by the way, this entire movie is just a prologue.
Yep. Yep. Pretty much. Yeah. The last. Yeah, it's a really really tight movie. And yeah, it doesn't feel awkward until a little bit towards the end. Yeah, and it kind of just all
Where it's like, here's your giant climax, and
Here's
also now here's
everything.
20 minutes of Tom Hardy apparently convincing Venom in all of 5 minutes that they should be good guys. Like
Yeah.
that's all it took.
Yeah. And like, to be honest, there were also moments where it's like Venom kind of just got there on his own. Like Tom Hardy didn't really have to do much. Tom Hardy. His name is Eddie.
Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock.
Tom Eddie Brock Hardy.
Eddie Tom Hardy Brock Venom.
I'm
but,
sorry,
like,
hold on. I've got something in my head and I have to say it, and it's going to be terrible. Are we all ready for this? Hardy Rock Anthem. Anyway.
Oh, I know. No. That's the title. Hardy Rock Anthem is the title.
Popped into my head and I didn't know how to stop it. Anyway.
But yeah, cause like I don't know, I just loved it. It was so much fun. It's everything that you would want out of a Venom movie. You know?
Yeah, it is just. Oh, by the way, here's a jerk. Here's a guy, and Eddie Brock and Venom have to stop the jerk from doing jerky things.
Yep.
They didn't even try to make Riz Ahmed's character like at all sympathetic in any way.
Nope.
It's just like, oh, by the way, all of the terrible things you've been told about this guy, they're true, and he's gonna have absolutely no remorse about any of it.
Can we talk about Jenny Slate for a second?
Can we talk about the fact that they changed something from the trailers to the movie releasing? Speaking of Jenny Slate,
I'd rather talk. I want to talk about
we'll get
that.
into her. We'll get into her acting, but before we get to that, the original trailer for this. I mean, we'll get into her just in general, but
continue.
I don't know why that was so funny.
I just the way you said it sounded like, yeah, we'll get to her acting.
Super catty.
Like,
yeah,
it was super catty.
Here's the thing. So the original trailer drops for Venom, and every time Jenny Slate is talking about the alien, she keeps saying symbiote over and over in a way that was so distracting that was the red flag to me that I should not be taking this movie seriously.
Oh my god,
because
I'm so happy I didn't see a trailer.
She just kept saying symbiote over and over instead of symbiote. Every time. And she was the one talking for most of the trailer because most of the original trailer was her giving the exposition of where the symbiotes came from.
Yeah.
And so she's like, this alien crashed to Earth. We call it a symbiote. And the symbiote attaches to a host. And the symbiote does this. And I'm like, oh my God, stop saying symbiote. I'm going to throw my phone across the room. And then the movie comes out. I start watching the movie, and she keeps saying symbiote. And I went, did someone tell them? Did they really go back through and reshoot these scenes or ADR her saying it the correct way?
They definitely had to have ADR it. I don't think they're gonna reshoot a scene because Jenny Slate doesn't know how to pronounce symbiote.
It's the fact that no one told her. They got to a trailer before they finally figured out she was saying it wrong.
I mean, yeah, it's bad that it got out there. I'm like I said, I'm very happy I didn't see a trailer because that might have ruined it for me.
Oh man.
It's like Avatar: The Last Airbender movie and they're calling Aang Ong. All right?
Yeah.
That's not.
Yeah, really.
And Sora, that's not his name. And Sokka.
Sokka. Yeah.
And Sokka is like Suka or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyways.
So she's like she's like a human MacGuffin in this movie.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't really do much. And you never really see her outside of work except for the one scene where she gets Eddie and takes him back to work. So like her entire job is to just be exposition for this movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I thought that she was gonna get her own symbiote and be like part of the movie.
Nope. Then they're just like, we're done.
No, she's dead.
Story's done. Time to kill off someone.
She was like, and she seemed like it was so dirty. Like it just happened. Like, yep, Jay Slate's dead. We're moving on.
Oh
Oh,
man.
okay. Maybe that was the half hour they cut out.
Maybe it was like a less dramatic than the homeless woman that he sees inside the thing and tries
How
to like help escape
crazy.
and
Okay.
all of that.
How
She gets more character arc than Jenny Slate.
Yeah, it was true. I mean, I didn't even know Jenny Slate was going to be in this. I had no idea that she was in this movie.
Yeah, no, again, I recognize her voice right away from Bob's Burgers, and I know she
Yeah.
has done excellent acting. Like she's an excellent actor, and it's just the fact that for some reason in this movie it was just like we got Jenny Slate because we could,
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like she really knew why she had gotten that part. It doesn't
It
feel
was
like they knew what to do with her character.
it was
It was
very
like,
surprising. Also considering like my biggest exposure to Jenny Slate is honestly Star versus the Forces of Evil because she plays Ponyhead. She plays Princess Ponyhead. And there is a skit in the Kroll show called Publicity, which I don't know if you've ever
I
watched.
have not, but I imagine that she's very much playing her
My
character for
friend,
Parks and Rec, John Ralphio's sister.
maybe I don't know.
Like that's
So my friend from work showed it to me, and it's just Jenny Slate and Nick Kroll, and they're playing like PR women, like Valley Girls,
right.
and it is just the funniest thing.
Yeah, no,
And
she does that very well. That is very
yeah,
much like her
she
character from Parks and Rec. Is she's John Ralphio's sister? I forgot her name, but she's actually worse than John Ralphio, and it's just like she is nothing but like spoiled brat,
yeah.
funny, and she does that great. And then I know she did was it young not nope, young adult is Charlize Theron. No,
Yeah.
young adult is oh my God, I don't
I
remember
don't
now.
know.
She did a movie, Obvious Child. Sorry, I knew that
Oh
there was
yes,
like
obvious
something.
show.
So Obvious Child, she was in, and she did excellent dramatic acting and stuff in
Yeah.
that. So I know she can do that. It just was like it was like someone was like, "Hey, what if we let you be a scientist and you can add that to your resume?"
Yeah. I just it as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, Jenny Slate, and then I was like, wait, what? Jenny Slate? What? And then she died, and I was like, well, that sucks. I was like kind of
Oh,
excited to see you in the rest of this movie, but no. Other than that, it was fantastic. I loved when Venom started like showing himself to Eddie and like the voice and all that just
I
coming out of
know,
nowhere. Like, oh, it was so good. So
especially
good.
because that's just Tom Hardy talking to himself.
Yeah.
Because like, and they telegraphed it perfectly. I think that was probably the thing that caught me is that when he gets in the elevator with, um, I don't is it it might be Jenny Slate. Yes, it is because it's when she takes him and he does the ET thing. Is that he
Yeah.
points the finger at her and does the Venom voice when he's doing the ET
Yeah.
the ET impression,
Yeah.
and all of that, it's like, oh, there it is, and then
Yeah.
it's just like that's the voice he starts hearing, and it's like perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So good. You know what? Now we're just gushing over Venom because like my favorite part of that it's not I mean it's one of my favorite parts but when they it's like that huge bomb it's not a bomb squad but that huge like SWAT team comes in and they're like masks down or something like that or masks on and Tom Hardy's like you don't want to do that and then they go to start shooting and then Tom Hardy's like all right mask on and then Venom comes out I'm
I
like
know.
dude it's the
He just
coolest thing
he
and
just
like
stumbles
so adorable
and
like
like he's basically just like a drunk stumbling into every scene
yes
because he's like sick for half the movie with this thing inside of it.
yes
And I just love the running joke of I've got a parasite.
yeah oh you don't want to call him parasite that's not good
The whole scene in the restaurant where he gets to just like basically
he's
disrupt an entire other
yes
movie going on.
oh my god so good and he just sits in the lobster tank
Just-
I want to watch it again right now if
oh
I
man,
could
this
oh
is a
my
perfect
god
example of just like shut your brain off and enjoy it
it
type of movie
really
because they're not
is
making any sort of major
no
I should say they're making any sort of major point. But they're not. They're not like this is just a bunch of characters get thrown into a situation and you get to watch them kind of
yep
bounce off of that shit. And it just like Tom Hardy doing both as Venom and as Eddie, like basically come into this movie and they're just like everybody's taking this too seriously.
Yeah.
Allow me to disrupt everything
Yep.
by being just this bumbling fool that just walks in, and then all of a sudden I kick a bunch of ass.
Yeah.
Like,
it exactly is that. It's like, it's not trying to win any awards. It's not trying to do anything groundbreaking. It has 2 Academy Award winners in the movie, and they don't even reference that ever. Like, yeah. No, we don't care about awards. We just want to have fun. Like, we just want to have fun with this character, and they did. And it is honestly, like, there are some really adorable parts where, like, Venom and Eddie are talking to each other, and it's like, oh, you're best friends.
it's like,
Aw.
I was a loser on my planet
Yeah.
too. I like it here more.
Here we can dominate and blah blah. It's like,
Like,
you
I can't
guys.
dominate if there's no world to dominate. Let's
Yeah.
go. Stop.
Or
Like, that's a great motivation.
Or like, even at the end of the movie where Eddie's like, listen, all right, so if we're gonna be doing this, we're only eating bad guys.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
then
God.
Eddie,
Talk about
aw, not Eddie,
that-
Venom being like, aw.
that entire 20 minutes at the end, by the way, is the trailer for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's almost nothing cut for the trailer that isn't from that last 20 minutes of him telling Venom that they're only gonna hurt bad guys. Like, I was waiting for that the whole movie because I was like, well, did the scene get cut? That's weird.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then the whole turn on the wind joke, where it's like, I will rip all of your limbs off and your face, and you'll go rolling down the street. Is like, oh man.
So good.
And just
Go-
the fact
go
that he
see
just
Venom.
does that in front of the old lady, and he's just
Yeah.
like, okay,
We are
like not even
Venom.
hiding it. Yep, not even hiding it.
So good. So good. I want to see it again. Like, right now. Go
And it's
see Venom.
definitely made. Yes, go see Venom. It's definitely made enough money to get its sequel, which is going to be great because of just
Yes.
Woody Harrelson in that terrible wig. Which at the end,
What was that?
so that's the character. The character he
No,
says
I-
the name of the character he's playing is Carnage.
I
but
know,
it's
I
like,
know the character, but like, what was that wig?
yeah, I don't know. It's like we spent all of our money on Venom. We can't give anyone else good graphics. Venom and
Oh,
Riot took a lot of
God.
money to make.
They look amazing. They
Oh,
do. Like,
And that fight sequence between them where it's just like
Oh.
liquid bouncing
Yup.
off of liquid
Yup.
and they're just like tearing apart and coming back together.
that still shot of Eddie and I can't think of his
Riz Ahmed's
Yes,
character, I
yes.
don't remember his character's name. Yeah.
when they're like going to punch each other, and then you have the Venom and Riot going to like that still is brilliant. And that slow motion, oh, so beautiful. Like legitimately beautiful. Oh man. I had something else, but I don't remember.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, go see Venom, go enjoy it. Don't
Yes.
don't think about it too hard. Just
Really
don't. It's
don't.
not worth it.
Like-
It's like they really did make a brilliant. So it's based on a specific comic run in which Eddie Brock is not in New York. Like, they made a very smart choice doing that by getting away from all of the MCU stuff that they might be tangled up with later if they try to figure out why Venom would exist and not know who Spider-Man is. It's like,
Yeah.
well, because he doesn't live where Spider-Man is. End of story.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, exactly. Oh, so good.
So this has been your Venom cast,
Aw.
and Halloween cast, and Big Bird cast.
Yeah.
We're all over the place.
Yeah, so this has been Say Report Jr. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, you should go follow us on Twitter. You can find us at Say Report Jr. You can also find us on YouTube, also at Say Report Jr. And you can find each of us on Twitter. I am at Dale's Brain.
And I am at Zerwisky.
Yep. And I have nothing else. Do you?
Nope, let's go get ice cream.
Woohoo! Take it
Take it
away,
away.
Liz. I gotcha.
You're dead.
Thank you for listening to The Say Report with your hosts Dale Decker and Zach Sarowik. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.